when you're acting in a certain way, being out with your guys or whatever, you're representing an identity. And my question to each person and myself continually, and I've been journeying this, I guess, my whole life, is what I'm doing today, how is that representing how I want to be presented within this demographic, if you like.
Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Talking to My Thoughts, where we have open, honest, and raw conversations about, well, our thoughts. The topics will range from anxiety, life goals, relationship, money, work, everything that runs through our head, so you know the possibilities are endless. You're here with Craig Riviere, aka Mr. Positive.
Sorry, it's the AKA thing. It's SJ.
No, AKA? Okay. Nah. And Ebenezer Olawale, AKA Mr. Make It Happen.
Hey, look at what?
Hey. You know. Much love.
So today, I'm going to pick a really special topic. What it means to be a man. Like instantly, people like buzzing all over the place. Women, men, boys, girls, all that thinking, ooh, what does it mean to be a man? But let me get a bit of a description what they say on the Wikipedia. A man is an adult male human. Like most other male mammals, man's genome typically inherits I don't even relate to any of that stuff. Wikipedia, you failed me today. I was trying to get social by it. What it means to be a man. You're going to hear some of our thoughts on it anyway, personally, but to be a man, to me, I couldn't even say I have a gender-specific description about it, to be honest with you. To me, the main thing that we have a purpose of is just being ourselves, you know? So that's not really gender-specific. It's actually, I don't know if I relate to the typical, we have responsibilities, have to earn a certain amount of money, have to have a certain type of job, place, material stuff. I actually just say be yourself, which is in its entirety. And the good, bad times, the poor times, the wealthy times, it doesn't really matter to me. But let me hear your thoughts about what the initial thoughts about what it means to be a man.
To be fair, I would more so come from the standpoint of saying not just what it is to be a man, but what it is to be a black man. Because that can be a very different thing. Obviously, your experiences as a man and then as a black man, they are slightly skewed. So more so what I will probably speak about today is my own personal experience and how that's allowed me to evolve into the person I am today. So it'll be interesting to find out what you guys' experiences are as well, and we can kind of just talk a little bit about, again, we're going to be looking at your thoughts as well, thinking about where your experiences are and what is done to then make you the person that you are today.
Huge. My understanding, when something's a little bit deep, if you like, I like to think in reverse. So what is it to be a man? How about what is not being a man? What is the contrary? Because sometimes it's easier to work out, like, you know, what you are doing and whether it fits within your criteria. So the kind of things that come to mind is like who are you showing up as? So what do you represent within the space that you're in, either it be a family or a friendship group? What do you bring to the table? A lot of that about provision and your identity within yourself. But I think it's a huge topic. It's quite exciting to start to explore this. But each person has their own specific identity within manhood. And I think today's going to be quite an incredible one, hearing your thoughts as well.
Already, you can hear there's the differences between all of us. And I think you all have some kind of thing to relate to. Each piece of us, one of us, anything like that. So we're not going to waste no time. We're going to get straight into it. As you know, in this podcast, we are literally listening to our thoughts. These are times when we would have pre-recordings of us basically speaking to ourselves, because how we speak to ourselves is very different to how we speak to others. There's no presentation. It could be messy. It could be whatever it is. So we're going to play a podcast, and we're going to start with Ebenezer's, aka
Mr. Make It Happen. So what does it really mean to be a man? What is manhood? And where do you sit? Or where do I sit within this? See, manhood, or what it means to be a man. Let's use the word manhood because it just feels better. Manhood is an interesting topic. Like, we understand you're a young person or a boy for a season, and then you then have to become a man. But no one ever really sits down and says, this is the requirements to be a man. This is what you need to do, to say, this is how you think, behave, and act, and then you're a man. So there's this gray area between being a young boy and then stepping into manhood, and then you actually, the expectation is there, but the equipment isn't there. So you feel like you're playing catch up the whole time, or at least that's how I feel. So I'm in this kind of thing called life. One of the biggest manhood steps was the ability to fix stuff. So I found an ability to bring stuff together, to be a purposeful person, in the idea that I can take apart stuff and, you know what I mean, kind of household stuff, change light bulb. Like, was that manhood? The ability to bring things to be better because of your thoughts and your skills. Is that manhood? Or was it being a provider, being the person who can always be relied on? You can't be without. I understood manhood is about being the person that can be leaned on regardless of the scenario. Like, when there's money needed, you got to be there. Like, you can't shy down from that as a man. At least that's what I thought. And then you hold the idea of emotionally strong. You've got to be the person who is always there to listen. You've always got to be there to listen, because at the end of the day, people need somebody who's always going to be strong. So being strong is part of being a man. And then there's physical strength. If you can't lift something, I remember countless scenarios. Some Nigerian guy, like, I'm strong enough, but there's people who are stronger than me. And then when people lift stuff that you can't lift, then you're no longer a man. It's like your manhood, your identity in that is in the strength that you have. I never really understood that one, but it is what it is. And your choices as well. But the biggest thing for me is, like, manhood isn't one of these things. Manhood is a combination of being consistent, being reliable, being able to intervene, being emotionally strong, being physically strong, and actually stepping into it. And my biggest thought, and I do think about it quite a lot, not every single day, but am I enough? Am I enough? And that is probably not a great question, probably a better declaration, because the reality is, what are you comparing it to? Like, who are you using, or what are you using as the benchmark to even know if that you're enough, if you are enough? And the reality is, unless you declare that you're enough, you never will truly be enough. So being a man is understanding that you are all that you ever need to be, and that you can grow to whatever you want to be. What it means to be a man.
Smashed it.
Was that me?
Smashed it. Poetry.
So I've been taking notes in between that.
Major.
Now, if someone told you to do a speech about what it means to be a man, you would have picked up those pieces: provider, be there for people, listen, lift stuff, strength, choices, consistent. Funny enough, by the time you got to the end of that podcast, you dropped it all. Did you not realize? You actually,
Go on.
you let go of all of those things. You actually just said at the end, you just have to be. All of it could be none of it as well. Now, the interesting thing about it is, the reason why we picked this topic is because there's a lot of stuff that you have there: provider, be there, listen stuff, live stuff. These are things that society, our culture tells us, a lot of things. But in the end of it, you didn't say it with your chest. I know you. You didn't say, no, this is, to be a man, you have to lift stuff, you need to be strong, you actually just said, well, there was no guidance, but I think it's this, and I think it's this. Then you got to the end of it and you was like, well, maybe it's not. And the thing is, every time you went through the list, I was like, well, what if you're not a provider? What if you couldn't provide today? What if you wasn't there for them today? What if you couldn't listen today? What if you wasn't strong enough today? Are you still a man? Or did you become a boy again in transition? So what's your...
It's peak.
Downgrade.
And then it goes back
Mm.
to the end of it. The thing that you said at the end. Am I enough? So if you thought this was what it was to be a man, if you couldn't do those at any certain point in your life, does that mean you're no longer a man? Does that mean you don't belong, you're enough if you're not, because you can't go back to a boy? So what happens?
That's major. Thanks for, I didn't even take that apart like you did. I appreciate your mind. When it comes to the part 1 and part 2, 'cause that was raw, because my journey, you could hear my thoughts journeying through. And then as I began to really think, the first part is the societal prerequisites. And that's why I wasn't speaking with the conviction. Like, is it? There was a lot of questions out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you questioning yourself, bro? Like, you should know your own thoughts. But a lot of it is society says do this. We see on the media, we see people, and then we associate that with strength. That person who's the ripped guy on the movie in the Hollywood, they're the guy. And the person who's, got the glasses on, like, are they not the guy? And then I moved to like, actually, it's about the decision that you make and the identity that you hold within yourself. You qualify. All the other stuff can or not come. And the greatest thing, that I like how you put, if you're not those things, are you a boy? You know what I mean? It's like a little bar, like, bah, 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 and you're like, boom, it's gone because you didn't perform one duty. I don't know what's your...
Funny thing is, I think that you was right in a lot of points, because you can't be wrong about your own thoughts. Like, you can't say, okay, or now thinking, and don't get me wrong, I don't think Craig's trying to say that in any way or contradict or say anything that you've said is wrong, because that's your mindset, that's your thought process. And that's what it's about, listening to what your thoughts are. I think that it's quite interesting to think about how that transition actually happened. And I agree that a lot of those points that men generally have, or boys generally have, is that they think that those are the things that they need to attribute in order to then become a man. And for many cases, it doesn't have to be the case. I agree, it doesn't have to be the case. You don't have to be strong to be like, okay, I'm only a man if I'm strong. Because there's so many other attributes that you have that can then make you a man.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about what you're talking about being responsible, being reliable, being mature.
Yeah.
And that's not a on-off situation where it's just like, one day I'm a boy, now I'm 18, suddenly I'm a man.
Yeah.
And a man, as we define it, is someone that is reliable, is responsible, can take care of themselves, take care of their family, are mature enough to handle their own emotions, and mature enough to understand when they're wrong and be able to apologize. And there's so many, it's all about that mindset of knowing when you're wrong as well. I think that's a big thing about being a man, is that when you can actually turn around and say, you know what, cool, I did the wrong thing, I apologize, I'm willing to move forward from it. Boys don't act like that. That's not a young thing. When you're actually able to start doing stuff like that, that's when you start realizing, okay, now I'm maturing, now I'm becoming a man. Because a lot of people can just think, well, I'm 18 now, I'm a man in the legal eyes, I'm a man now. That's not the case, bruv.
Yeah.
So that's how I think. And I definitely think I agree with a lot of your points where we are because of society led to think that there are certain things, such as we have to be physically strong, or we have to be able to do this in order for us to be a man, when it's a little bit more than that. I think more so about being a man is about your emotional and your mental state, how you can handle situations and your experiences and how you learn from it. Because from time you're making mistakes and you're not learning from it, and you're making a mistake again and you're still not learning from it, and you're making a mistake again, that's immature for me.
So subjective, and there's different. I think the problem with defining what it means to be a man is that problem right there, trying to define it. It's subjective in so many ways, and it doesn't mean that when again, the key part about being mature, making mistakes, repeated mistakes over and over again. If you suddenly was a man, top of the world, feeling like you did everything you needed to do, something traumatized you, something kicked you off your high horse, and then all of a sudden normal life things seem to just be a struggle. Going to work or being there for people is just a struggle, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, it's really telling yourself, damn, I'm being really immature right now. Maybe I'm not a man. Is that really going to get you back up? You understand? I think we always define a man as being these powerful, strong, positive attributes, but we never take on the other side of what it means to be a man as well. That if you do get kicked down, you still get up, and it's okay to be kicked down, because actually that's what helps me grow. It's okay for me to mess up on something, because I know I shouldn't be doing that again, or I don't want to do that again. It's okay to make mistakes in your life. It's okay to sleep around or not sleep around, because I need to learn these things. These are part of my life. Again, the way that society sees it, they always put these things on pedestals, and it's only good attributes and never bad attributes. But in our life, there's actually both. And you needed the bad to even get to those good ones anyway. But anyway, we won't get too far into it. So we're going to move on to the next piece. We can get into this really tough. It gets juicy. But you know what? Let's move on to my recording and see like the difference between it. So yeah, let's get into it right now. What does it mean to be a man? First time I heard that, actually, that was like at some men's health event, and the topic came up, and I was like, what does it mean to be a man? I actually didn't know. I actually didn't even know if I was a man, and I'm thinking that was only last year. I remember you was thinking, rah, are you even a man yet? Bear in mind, like, you're 28, but when was the transition? When did it happen? Was it when you started paying bills? Was it when you started working? Was it when you just turned 18? I actually don't know. But you didn't rack your brain about it much, did you? You was just like, just live your life, I guess. I'm a man by gender, but I don't necessarily see it as a particular way to be a man. That's the main thing for me. Like, my description of what it means to be a man is to be yourself, to say what you do and do what you say, to live your life and just be free. But then it's not gender specific anymore, is it? So is that being a man? It really doesn't matter to me, actually. I just be. Everyone has so many ways to categorize and describe, and society always has a way to put you in a certain place and describe. As I said describe already. Everyone has an opinion. But actually, the way you've lived your life, it didn't really matter about what they expected of you. What it was to be a man, have a certain responsibility, have a certain amount of money, etc. No, that never really ticked off your boxes to, that needs to be a man. Even for the people I see, men that are looking for employment, they're struggling with financially, they go gym, don't go gym, they're gay, they're not gay, they are with a partner or they're not with a partner, they're introverts, extroverts, confident, not confident. It doesn't really matter to me. These people are all men. Once I can see you being yourself, that's what being a man is to me. And the people that's not being a man, actually, I don't know. I've never really said, that person's not being a man about it. Everyone goes for their struggles, you know? There is no pinnacle place as to what is a man, or this is a man, or this is the role model, this is the idol model. There is none of that. Being a man is just a way for the society and the world to understand who you are and where to put you, but you don't have to conform to that. You understand? I'm not talking about like, don't class yourself genderly as a man, but I'm just saying, just be. There is no description in a dictionary that can possibly explain who you are. You just be. So actually, you don't have to put so much stress on yourself about, what is it to be a man? I hope that I can continue to think this in the future as well. And I hope I can explain this to kids and other things as well the same way. Just be. Stop worrying about what the category is, because nobody has every single one of the skills and talents and achievements you need to have ticked off to say, yeah, you're a man now. You're a man when you say you are. Simple as that.
You know what? I agree with a lot of that, actually. And one thing I was thinking about when you was bringing it up about what do we need to conform to what people think a man is. As you said, there isn't a specific definition because, as you said, it is very subjective. And I think that where does the definition come from? Does it come from you internally and when you think that you're a man? Or is it a case of when other people perceive you as being a man and about perception? Because funny enough, I was just thinking about this just as I heard that voice note as well. Like, when I was young and I didn't think I was a man, people were calling me a man. And I was confused. Like, literally when I was in, I think it was secondary school and was doing work experience. I was working in a shop. And then the customers would come up to me and then there was a little kid in the shop. And the mum went over and was like, oh, don't disturb that man. He's busy working. I'm like, man, I'm in school. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you thought I was a big man. Like, yeah. So it's all about perception and how people think of you as well. But even at that time, I didn't quite think I was a man. So is it about the perception of other people or is it about when your own perception of yourself? When does that definition actually come across and when does that transition actually happen? It's hard to define. It's such a hard thing.
That's huge. I had the bit that really stood out to me was the be. You just be. Is that understanding that when I decide to just be me, that's kind of when I'm transitioning or the closest I've ever been to manhood and my interpretation. And you took a journey along this responsibility and expectation. Like as Simon said, there's this external, like people are seeing me as a man because I'm in a shop and I've got money coming in, and then there's responsibility. I've been given responsibility, therefore I must be man enough to uphold that, which is really, really interesting. But then it's the idea of not conforming. I don't want to conform to that. If that person at the shop sees me as a man, do I then have to be a certain way so that I'm checking off their box?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I puff my chest out a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because to them and their kid, I'm a man.
Yeah.
And then it's the idea that I just got to be sure. Like if I'm 100% being me, walking in the surety, then I am a man. But I like the thought.
It's very interesting that you said about that. It's the perception. And I say that we're in a world where the blind is leading the blind. We're looking to society and these other people and blind leaders, kind of like when a celebrity does something and they top of the world, looking at Iron Man right now. And then, I don't know, you hear they just went for a relapse or they just did something crazy and criminal or a drug overdose or something like that. And you're like, wow, I just placed my whole life on being you. But you're making mistakes like these that I would never see myself doing. And this is why I just always tell people just to be yourself. You don't look to society because it's just blind leaders. And you're just going to end up in a place just like them. It's a path that nobody really knows. And we weren't put on this earth for us to lead, to be somebody else. And as you said, what was about the shop one was a great example. Now that this boy has called me a man, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? I need to puff my chest out. Do other people see me as a man? Now you start changing things about you. And you wasn't ready. You wasn't ready to puff out your chest. You just wanted to keep the boy chest, you know? You wasn't ready to deepen your voice because I can't force that when it hurts. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is a key part. I wasn't ready to change my voice because it hurts. What about the rest of the aspects of your life? I wasn't ready to be a man yet because it hurts. It's too hard for me to do this. It's too hard for me to sacrifice being a kid, go and see my friends or my family and having to feel I have to work because I have to earn money and I have to do this. You understand what I'm saying? So I really find just being is necessary because perception will really cloud who you think you're supposed to be and you start to lose yourself along the way, in a sense. By the time you start to transition, you become an adult, you actually realize and you look back, I was like, I don't even have the same aspirations I had before. I wanted to be a firefighter, go into space, I wanted to do electronics. Someone said, be realistic, be a man. And they said, just go and put yourself in the office and start typey. Hey, I typey, so I'm not trying to put it down. I ain't trying to put it down, but I'm just saying, where's the aspirations to be a firefighter or go into space again? Where's that gone? Was that just a boy's dream? But was the boy actually more of a man than the man himself? Because the man himself is just being another monkey, another clone, another person that just says that society said I had to do this, so that's what I'm going to do.
Cute.
But the boy was always being himself the whole time.
Mm.
So which one would you prefer to be? Which one was the happiest one? Someone say, oh, but when you get to a man, you have all these responsibilities. But I always say the best time in my life. I always ask people, what's their best time in their life? Often people go backwards. Back in secondary school, college, when I didn't have responsibilities.
Yeah, you don't have that responsibility.
Mm.
The best time in my life is today. Because every single step I take in my life, I have more and more control over my life and what I can do. And if I say my life is lit, it's probably because I made it lit. And if it's not lit, it's because I made it that way. But when you was a boy and stuff like that, you had all these people that were guiding you and putting you in these places. Now you're on your own. Now you feel like you actually want to be a boy again.
Mm.
So now you really think, wow, is that really the way you were supposed to be? Is that really the man you wanted to be? Is this what it means to be a man? So that's why we just go back to just being. How do you just be a bit more? Just do what you feel, in a sense. That's just how I see it.
There's pressures in it. Sometimes it's pressure that you put on yourself, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it's pressure from, as you said, what other people want you to be, or you have to conform, or what they perceive you to be. As you said, it's just pressure. And I'll be interested actually to kind of swerve the lane slightly, and just obviously not just thinking about what it is to be a man, because one thing I was interested in is being a black man as well. Does that then change it slightly differently for you? It's not just about thinking about, okay, I have to be a man. Now that you're in a society where you're a black man living in London, how much does that change you in terms of how much you need to be a man and those conformities and all that other stuff?
I went to an interesting place where I had to do a public speak, and it talked about being a black man and interracial relationships. And everyone has so many opinions about what they see that other people are supposed to do, what you're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. And I say, listen to what I'm trying to tell you. When you was born, you was a human first. Skin color was placed on you. God gave that to you. Your culture was placed on you. Your education was placed on you. All these other things. But when you're a man, when you're older, you choose which one. You was human first. The main thing that you have to go to is being yourself first. Either be a black man, white man, interracial relationships, and being whatever you want to be. The thing is, again, if we try to take on another perception of what a black man means, who has the perfect description for us to know what we're to conform to? So again, we have blind leaders. How many generations of black men have there been? Do you go to those generations? They didn't have social media. How does that work in this day and age? When a black man in America, a black man in England, a black man in all these different places, it's different. So for me, how I see it, instead of thinking about outside and what they want me to do, how am I supposed to conform, and am I supposed to riot? Am I supposed to do crime? Am I supposed to fight for peace? Am I supposed to fight for rights? I just say, you know what feels like it aligns with me? Need that be me supporting my culture, my country, my people, just because you want to see your people grow. You understand what I'm saying? But then it's not just your country. It could actually be any country. It could be any place as well. So I try to always go back to myself. What feels right? What feels like it aligns to me? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, do I fight for rights in my workplace? Do I jump carnival? Do I go back to my country and start investing into it? Do I go and support other black men that are doing other things? And the reason why I'm saying that what aligns with you is because what can happen is that someone can look at me, say that I'm going to St. Lucia often, say that I'm in carnival, and say that I actually support other black men. Then another black man is trying to get himself out of the hood. He's never been able to go back to his country. He doesn't like carnival, but he does do something else. That's two different types of black men. If you thought that I was the perfect one, that means you're making his life invalid. So all these things about these labels that we place on ourselves and that society tries to place on us, it's just a way to categorize us, but it doesn't actually abide with us. It's like placing a box in us and say that, let's put yourself in that box, and then don't change. Don't try and crawl out of it. You better stay exactly where you are. I don't conform to that. There is no box. There is no perfect category. Even the person you are today is completely completely different to who you are tomorrow. Today you say, I'm a black man, that I take walks and I speak for black men. And then tomorrow you say, you know what, I actually want to be in the background. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying. I would love to hear what you lot think about it, but I just feel like I don't like these labels, and I just try to conform with what things that align with me better, rather than it being like, what does society expect of me?
Huge. I love the response. I have this, as I always do, I think in reverse. So I like this idea of responsibility. So when it comes to being a black man, Nigeria.
He had to join
Plug it.
I mean, we love the nation. But when it comes to being a black man, there's a lot that comes with it because in terms of where we are today, with being a person of color in any sense, and actually what that means with the abilities that we have, the openness and the fact that we can even really speak about this like this today is means that we've come a long way. But my biggest thing is it's about representing. So if we skip back to man and manhood, I always see, when I see a guy, mainly from relationship type stuff, when a person acts, my biggest thing is you're not doing you, you're actually representing guys. You know what I mean? You're representing men as a whole, because the perception that's going to be created is not just of you and the relationship that you're in, or the person who you meet, or the customer who you know what I mean? They're going to blanket that to being all men. So eventually what you're doing is painting a picture for all of us. So that's kind of the standpoint I come. So if you flip the script to being black men, when you're acting in a certain way, being out with your guys or whatever, you're representing an identity. And my question to each person and myself continually, and I've been journeying this, I guess, my whole life, is what I'm doing today, how is that representing how I want to be presented within this demographic, if you like. And if it's negative, is it just the way I am? And I digress a little bit. When my voice got deeper, people were like, I remember everybody wants a deep voice, no one wants that high pitch voice. My voice got deeper. And it got to the point I'd be at home or about, people like, your voice is too deep. What? I'm like, huh? And I'm like, there's not a scale that I said this to. I was like, I want the man voice. Like, I don't know what my voice sounds like because I can't hear it.
Yeah.
But I remember that happened, and I was like, that's for my whole life. I was like, one day my voice is going to be deeper. Suddenly I get there, and there's this, the response to this is different to what I thought it was going to be. I'm like,
that's mad.
I'm like, what do you mean?
What you want from me?
I just arrived, and you just shut me down in a moment. And I'm like, wait, what are we even trying to represent? You know what I mean? And when that happened, I realized that the identity that we have has to be, I want to represent as best as I can. And that goes back to being. If I'm just being me and doing me, I'm representing me. I'm representing man. If I'm a person of color, going out and saying, okay, I'm going to keep myself well. I'm going to dress well. I'm going to be a person of influence. I am representing everything that I need to in this moment. And it's not about what you want me to be, but I'm being what I want to be.
Powerful.
Represented as.
Powerful.
Do you feel that's a lot of pressure on you though? Do you think of it as pressure at all to think that you need to, not only you're representing yourself, but you're conscious that you're representing an identity and something bigger? Is it pressure? Do you feel that that's pressure on yourself, or how does that kind of work?
That's a very good question. I put the word pressure, I've actually come to love it. I love the concept of pressure because I understood pressure to be something negative. I'm under pressure, I've got deadlines. But then through study, I realized that pressure is one of the greatest assets that we have. Yes. And study is a good one. For example, I've got I'm doing a dissertation or a project. That 2-week window before, suddenly you're able to do much more. Like miracles happen in those 2 weeks because the pressure is amplified. Yeah. But then 6 months before, that pressure didn't produce any good results because you were thinking, I've got to deliver, I've got to deliver. So if used correctly, pressure is a good thing. But in response to your question, what is that adding the pressure to my life? And the answer is depending on if you choose it to be. If I am upholding the mantle of manhood for this generation, that's quite an honor thing. But if, let's say I did something wrong, now I'm ashamed, I'm putting shame upon the name. Yeah. Then that's it. So it depends on one, what you do, two, which angle you take. I'd say it's a powerful position to be representing something strong. If someone said, I'm playing for Team GP, or I'm representing Nigeria in football, but don't let that, don't let that one happen. Don't contact me. But if I'm representing the nation, some may say, oh, that's a lot of pressure, Ebby. But at the end of the day, that's an honor. I get everything I do will be marked against the legacy of this piece that I represent.
Interesting you did say about that pressure thing. That's going to be a topic in itself. That's because for us to grow, you don't grow in comfort zones, you know? You don't grow in being comfortable. Even people and things and living things evolve through pressure. Diamonds were created under pressure. These are all these typical topics, but we often think that actually being under pressure can cause a bit of a problem, but actually, yes, the way you use it, the way you perceive it as well, is very key. And I agree with you on the representation. Yeah, what you represent is a very key thing. Like, if I always relay it back to God at times. I always say, like, we were put in this position with this skin color, with this culture, in this place for a reason. God never gave us anything that we couldn't handle. And it's as simple as that. We were never put on this earth to struggle and to stress and to have a terrible life. We was always put on this earth to do something great in ourselves, have a good life in a sense. So I believe our perception on the way that we see pressure and the places that we put in is what is going to make the difference, and how you kind of respond to that. So if you believe that you was never put on this earth to suffer, but instead to be in favor at all times, then you need to be able to see your pressure as something that is going to help you grow and make you change or put you in a different position. So yeah, that's my side to it.
Oh, should I say my last piece and then we wrap
Go
it up? So I guess just interjecting in, obviously, what that kind of topic we're talking about now is that I'm very much, I agree with both of your points, and obviously it's about being yourself. And I try not to put any pressure on myself in terms of being that representation of what a black man is or what a black man should be. I'm more so trying to represent myself in the best light I possibly can, knowing that obviously in the wider scheme of things, essentially I am representing my people and I am representing my identity and who I am. But I always just make sure that as long as I'm doing what's best for me and I'm representing myself in the best light I can, I'm naturally going to then represent myself in the best light in terms of being a black man anyway. There are moments where you are a little bit more conscious of it than you would tend to really think about on a normal day-to-day basis. Say, for example, as you said, if you're doing something as simple as representing your country for a specific sport, or you're representing your culture, you're in that kind of position where you then become a representation for more people than just yourself. Then you're a little bit more conscious of it. And even like some certain things, like when you go to work, when you're at the workplace and you have to then compose yourself in a certain way. And I think that's the only real time where I'm a little bit more conscious of who I am and how I'm representing myself. It isn't necessarily to do with just being a black man, but being a man in that instance is that I have to make sure that no one's going to throw that whole stereotypical thing at me to think, yeah, he's just this guy that he's come off the streets, he talks a certain way and blah, blah, blah. And then that's how they start treating you. So I think that that's the only real time where I'm a little bit more conscious of it. But other than that, I'm more so just making sure that I represent myself in the best light that I can.
I was gonna start on something else. Let me. I'll park that topic. You don't gotta keep listening. You don't always see that topic come up. Black men in the workplace.
Yeah.
Let's give some people some tips, some stuff that we would food for thought. Leave them with. Ebenezer, go ahead. What do you?
Born ready. I'd say it's huge. I read a book. Shout out to Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's about writing down and creating a picture of the person you want to be, because that is a place of strength and identity and surety, if you like. Because once you've decided who you want to be, once you are that, then you are by definition successful. So not who does society want me to be, even beyond being a man, who do I want to be? What do I want to wake up and add value to? And who do I want to represent? When I show up into a room, what do I want to represent? So step one, I would say, write down. So take some time out, grab a cup of tea or whatever, and just write down the person who you want to be. And secondly, reflect on where you are. Who are you right now? Maybe reflect on what it is that created you to be there, like your experience is good or bad, and then put yourself in a position where you actually understand who you are. One of my mentors said, look, there's two things that you need to achieve. One is to understand where you are, and two, where you want to be. So don't be in denial as to where you are, but be real with yourself, and then use that picture of who you want to be, and the game is done.
Cool. Simon, you wanna?
Yeah, I guess my final piece, just through the conversation and through our thoughts, is there's no clear-cut transition. I never really thought about that, to be fair. I never really thought, okay, what stage did I actually really become a man? And I think what everyone should take away is that everyone has their own journey. It shouldn't be a case of allowing the external pressures to then be put onto you to then think, okay, this is what I need to do to then be a man. And I think it's important that people know you have your own journey and things are going to happen when they happen. You will know when you're ready to know. And I think that's my main takeaway from that.
My food for thought: don't allow society to impose who you're supposed to be. Be a man, woman, whichever one it is. Don't allow society to define it for you. They don't know. Be yourself as much as possible. Pick your own interests, pick your own attributes. Fail hard, achieve hard, whichever one it is. Just be yourself as much as possible. When you enter a room, it's not about what people think about you and what they like about you, but what do you like about them? What are you willing to represent yourself as? And just be yourself, just be, as I said. So, thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
This was Talking to My Thoughts with me, Craig.
SJ.
Ebenezer Olawale. Let's make it happen. Let's get it.
So, as usual, we always want to hear back from you guys and girls and whoever you are. What are your thoughts about being a man? Even from women, what do you think it means that a man should be? Because this is always something that we're changing the way we think and etc. So it's always interesting to know. Send in your thoughts via email, for our socials, send a video, audio, text, whatever it is. Send it to us and we will be very willing to listen, reply back, and maybe even share some of your thoughts as well. Thank you for having us. Thank you for listening to us, and make sure you follow us, all of that, for Talking to My Thoughts. Peace out.
Bless.
Amazing.
Bless.
Peace and prosperity.